Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This will be another awesome window manager video focusing on theming. I did a video about this back in Awesome 3.4 days, several years ago now, but eventually you kind of get tired with a single config, and I went and was going to install a new config, or a new copied actually from Setka. This looks a lot like his configuration. I changed a few things, but what you find is sometimes, like if we look at this, what's currently being run for this config here, it requires a vicious folder here, and a wallpapers, and a Wii, and a widgets, and it's actually a bit different than my default config. But I didn't want to, if I made changes like the other one uses lane and wouldn't be required for this config. So what I've ran into an issue where I wanted some of these library folders to be different, like the themes folder to be different, maybe use different icons or something for one config versus another, and kind of thinking about how to do that, and it turned out I wanted to go to this idea called profiles. So if we do a ls for profiles, you'll see there's a default and an MSJCHE. So if we cd there, and we ls default, we've got those. Let's do an LA default so it's a little easier to see. And if we do an LA MSJ, that's my old config. You see they're slightly different library folders here. And I found the best way to do this was to use symlinks. And then, because I wouldn't want to copy and paste, because you can eventually screw something up and erase something, or moving back and forth whole files, there might be some errors, but eventually. So I got this idea of using this profiles to house all the config files. So basically you could go and git clone somebody's entire directory. You could even probably do like copycat killers, which uses totally different libraries than most other configs, and plop that into a profile, then symlink to it. It's basically like having it isolated. It's almost the idea of the containers that people talk about. Like you have each config will have its own libraries, which is kind of cool. And then so you just have, so if I go to my scripts folders and go to theming, I have default.sh and MSJCHE. So if I wanted to switch to, so let's do MSJCHE. Oops. Let me just do that. You can see you remove those symlinks, and then you symlink everything from the MSJCHE to your config awesome. You copy over the X resources, because you notice this is like what I call my Zenburn X resources, which I think goes better with this profile. And then even have restart awesome inside the script, and then send a nice little message. So basically what that means is I can, by doing that, you can basically just hit this little button down here. So if we go to EA, you see there's just a little launcher that says go to these directories and use that script that we just looked at, and it should pull over the new config. And this is the launcher here. And there you go. That's the other config. And if you go and do an LA here, you can see where it was pointed default. Now it's pointed to MSJCHE. You didn't move any folders. You're not like potentially deleting stuff. These are just symlinks. And then just one last little thing here is you need to have a git ignore, so that those symlinks are ignored. So I can do a git status, and you see that we just changed a bunch of stuff, but they're being ignored in the git master branch. It's all being taken care of. Anytime you if you do an if you look at this and you just do or vim we.lua, that's basically modifying stuff in the profiles folders. It's not modifying anything here. It's going back to this path. So that's going to be different than what would be, you know, if we went back to this and did the exact same command, and we did the exact same command, you would see that would be a different we.lua. So anyways, I thought that would be kind of cool. All this is in my updated GitHub page here. So it talks about if you git clone all this over, there are a lot of things like piano bar that are going to be a pain and give you lots of errors. You got to make sure that all that stuff's in place first, so I apologize about that. I'm trying to think about a good way to get all that to install, because if you go back to the .files laptop and go to config and piano bar, you need to have all this stuff in there, as well as if you try to make piano bar work, cdg is my git folder, and if you go to .config and piano bar, you're going to need to have artist config is playing, now playing, state, and title. So if you just, you know, cat artist, you can see it's Sublime. So if I go down here on the bottom, you need to have all these things here. Cat is playing is going to be 0. Cat now playing is going to be Sublime. What I got, cat state is going to be, I don't know. Oh yeah, it just talks about what's cat, and title is going to be what I got. So all those need to be in place if you're using. I always refer back to piano bar headless because I want to be able to go to music here, and I can just hit the play bar on my keyboard. But I could also quit out of this, and it keeps running. And if I run it again, it'll just go back. So the whole point of piano bar headless is you don't have to have a window open. Like I could close this entirely. Let's just go ahead and do that. So there is no piano bar running here if you go through all my tabs, and I can just hit the play bar button again. So that's why I do the headless. And again, that headless is this right here. So if you git clone, these are all included. But you know what I should do? I'm gonna go ahead and add those now. So I'm gonna go git add.config. Why is this not working? Yeah, that's fine. You know what? I'm going to do something real quick, so bear with me here. I'm going to move my .gitignore to GI. I'm going to go git add.config piano bar, and I'm going to add artist and state.config piano bar artist.config piano bar is playing .config piano bar now playing .config piano bar. And the reason I'm doing this is if you just git clone this and you try to make it work, it'll give you a bunch of errors. Awesome, well, it's trying to look for these and they won't be in there. .config is playing now playing state, and with the title.config piano bar. That seems to be it. Status, and we're going to do that's good enough for now. We're going to do a git add. No, I'm not going to keep X resources because that changes. Yeah, so let's move GI back to .git ignore, git status, and we're going to go ahead and do git commit and add piano bar required files, git push. Okay, so now we go back here. You're going to see a few of these things are added. Yeah, so all these things now are in there. So when you git clone and you, if you do like I do, I mean, I have my whole setup this way. So if I go back to over here and go home and clear that out, and I do an LA, you can see that quite a few things, like X resources is pointing to get.files, Conky is pointing to get.files, so is fonts, MPD, MUT, MCP, all my ZSH, Vim, RC, Vim.vim, Exinit, ZSH, and scripts. So all these things you're going to need to do an lns get dot files like dot zsh to here to get that to work. Basically, to get this zsh, if you want to do it the way I'm doing it, just a good way to keep your dot files backed up, because the other way would be just to have like a git right at your home directory, but you'd have to have a huge number of git ignores so it's not looking at every single change, and it'll never give you that nice clean up to date. So if I go to cdg and do a git status, yeah, we can do a git commit, because I just deleted a worthless file there. Clean up. Git push. Git rm cache scripts theming sj dot, yeah, there we go. There we go. So again, if I went back home and tracked, like did a git add and created a repository at home, it's going to have all these things in here, and it'll always be dirty. It'll never look clean. And so the way I think is the easiest is to have a git folder. So if we do cd git, and I have a thing called dot files, so cd dot files, and in here you can see that it has the git feedback here, where see it went from nothing to the git status, and it shows that it's nice and clean this way. So anyways, if you have any questions about how to do that, if you try to add, it can be a little tricky to, say, take a vanilla awesome config to this using these repositories, but it can be done. You just need to make sure that you have a git.files and that it has all this stuff in it that you see here, and then you got to link all these to where they should be using symlinks, or you could just copy and paste them if you prefer, but I have them in symlinks. So that's about it, and if you have any questions, and I'll take one more look at, and again, that's using all these things are being, oh yeah, and I showed you the script. So yeah, you just have to have a script, and you can, if you look at the configs, you can see what you do. You basically just refer back to using a launcher idea. So they're all in the configs. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.